Welcome to Soul Alignment for your work life blend. We're here to talk about how you can create more flow in your life, how you can have energy for the things that matter, how you can be less busy and do less, but do what really matters really well so you can bring your dreams to reality. So here's the deal. Just like misalignment in your body can cause pain and restrict movement, misalignment in your work and in your life can cause pain in the form of all kinds of stress. And it can keep things from flowing as beautifully as they could. Or I would even say, keep things from flowing as beautifully as you wish they would. I like to say you can think of me as the chiropractor for your soul alignment. Alignment isn't just about what you do, it's about how you do it. It's aligning your time and your energy and your attention with who you are, how you work best, and what you desire to create. When you're in alignment, bringing your dreams to reality, it still takes work, but it feels easier because your energy is flowing. You naturally have more clarity and focus. You know what matters to you and what doesn't. You know how to move forward. You know how to make the impact you desire to make. You know how you find balance. You feel good about how you're spending your time and energy. Your decisions become easier. Even saying no becomes purposeful when you're in alignment and committed to staying that way. So, take a deep breath and let's dive right in with what we're doing over these next few days and why it matters. First things first, your energy is your most important resource. Most of us are trained to think in terms of time management or money management and maybe time versus money, but everything in life is actually flowing based on your energy. The results you're getting from your work, the quality of your relationships, your self care, your hobbies, your home. It's not just about finding the time, it's about having the energy. Otherwise, you're just going through the motions or you keep defaulting to scrolling on social media or binge watching TV instead of being truly engaged in life and enjoying everything that blooms out of that. What you do today determines the energy you'll have tomorrow, but it's not just about nutrition and exercise and getting enough sleep. Those basics are important. I don't mean to minimize them, but I think they get talked about a lot. And the reality is, your activity throughout the day and whether it fills you or drains you has an outsized impact that doesn't get talked about enough. Plus, when you are in constant stress, it's affecting your digestion and your sleep, compromising two out of those three basics. And frankly, eating right and exercising take a lot of energy before they give you energy. So the point is, while there are things you can do to create more energy, if you're draining it faster than you can create it, it's just not going to be sustainable. And at some point, we have to stop just managing toxic stress and we need to make some meaningful changes. I remember one summer where I was fanatical about my self care, but I was spending long days at a job where my soul was crumbling. And I just remember this heavy feeling like I was wearing a 600-pound suit. And I would just lay on the floor in the mornings until the very last minute when I had to drag myself to work. In other seasons, I've gone on several work trips, completely different seasons, where admittedly I wasn't eating right or exercising at all or sleeping well, but I had all the energy in the world because I was excited and engaged and doing something that mattered to me. So, still not sustainable long term, obviously, but you need both the physical and the soul care to have the energy for life. That's really the point. Your body and your soul are both begging to be understood by you. Your body and your soul want you to understand them, and your energy is one of the ways they can communicate with you. When we do this alignment work, we're looking to create flow in your energy. We're paying attention to what's happening now, and we're looking for ways to become more aligned. When you're out of alignment, everything feels harder. And the more out of alignment you are, the more it's draining your energy through friction and dread and resistance, in addition to whatever energy the work itself is taking. When you're aligned, it's like you're the fullest expression of yourself. And when you bring your best energy, you get your best results. This goes for work, relationships, exercise, creativity, decorating your house, just about anything you might choose to do would benefit from high quality energy. This is a recalibration. It's a return to your deepest self. We're looking at who you are at your core, how you work best, and what you desire to create. I love personality tests, but that's not what we're doing here. We're blending soul work and really practical exploration and tools to help you cultivate your most flourishing life. One more thing before we dive in, let me introduce myself. I'm Becca Rasinko, and I'm a writer, a speaker, a coach, and a strategist. My background is in strategic integration, leadership development, coaching, operations, and project management. I've been the driving force behind dozens of major strategic initiatives, program launches, events, and campaigns. I've been a solopreneur doing everything myself, and I've led teams up to 5 million a year in revenue and everything in between. I love turning great ideas into reality, and for a long time, that was the main thing I did. I would help organizations devise a strategy to achieve their mission and vision, and then break that strategy into goals and daily actions so that the work the team did on a daily basis contributed directly to moving the mission forward. And I still do that sometimes. It's important work and I love it. But what I discovered was that over and over, the most successful people I knew were all too often the ones who wanted to burn it all to the ground. And honestly, the times in my life when I looked most successful were all too often the ones where I was dying on the inside. And it's not necessarily a new story, but what really surprised me was that I saw that pattern even among entrepreneurs, maybe especially among entrepreneurs. And it didn't seem to have much to do with the number of hours worked. The world has gotten so noisy that even when we have a ton of control over how we spend our days, like we don't have a boss telling us what to do and when, but we're still pulled in so many different directions. We're just constantly drained. It turns out there's actually a type of burnout called misalignment burnout where there's just so much friction and dissonance that you can't tolerate it. And I was seeing it happen all the time. I was working with these people who could follow the steps and make things happen. They could delegate and automate, but there was such a mismatch between their soul and their work that they were burning out anyway, no matter how careful. And that's why I'm so dedicated to this topic of alignment. The noise and the pace probably aren't going anywhere, but we can change how we relate to them. And that's what I'm here for. Ultimately, I want to help you do less, but do what really matters really well so you can live your most incredible life. So, when you're under a lot of stress, it's very common to lose touch with your own needs and desires. You're just trying to get from one day to the next. And we're starting here with some common pain points because what gets in the way becomes the way. To generate movement and momentum, you need to know what you want. You need to know how to get there, and you need to have the time and energy to do it. I want to acknowledge that yes, you may need resources too, and I'll share in a moment how that factors into this framework. So, when you think about cultivating a soul aligned life, where do you feel stuck? Maybe you don't even know what you want, and this is so common. I've included a couple of exercises this week that can help you figure it out. Maybe you know what you want, but you don't know what to do or how to accomplish your goal, and it just feels out of reach. If you know what to do, but you just have too much to do and it just never stops, you're probably stuck on finding the time. And related, but there's a really important distinction. You may just have too many things that drain your energy. So if you find yourself scrolling on your phone for hours or binge watching comfort TV while wishing you could do something more creative or connecting or fulfilling, this is you. You actually have more time than you have energy, and the energy is an essential component. So often I see people judging themselves for this one, acting as though it's just a time management issue. And there's a lot of messaging out there that reinforces that. And, maybe sometimes it is. But scientifically, energy is the capacity to do work. Without energy, you do not do the work. That's just part of being human. And I say work, but it could be anything. So, really, for all of these, I'd encourage you to just let go of any self judgment. It's not going to help you find the way forward. And finding the way forward is what we're doing here. So, circling back to the resource piece, I just want to kind of specify how that ties in. If you know what resources you need, but not how to get them, then it really is still in that phase of, I don't know what to do. So, there's got to be a way to get the resources, but it may just not be clear to you. If you know what resources you need and you have some ideas of how to get them, but you're putting it off and you find yourself procrastinating, then it's probably more of a time or energy consideration. So, a common example would be someone who wants a new job. Like they're in a job that's just not aligned and they really want to move into a more aligned position. And they know the job market is the Wild West right now and they're overwhelmed and they need help. So, the obvious solution might be to hire a career coach. If they can't afford that, they might look at options like changing their budget, taking on a side job, looking for scholarship opportunities, looking for lower cost, like a training or group coaching options, investigating free resources through their city, things like that. And even just listing that off, it sounds kind of daunting, right? And that's totally fair. And that's why it's important to look at the time or energy piece rather than staying stuck in how. When you have a solid 360-degree understanding of where you're stuck, as frustrating as it can be, it gives you a chance to break through and to spend whatever energy you are able to dedicate to your goal on the things that will make the most difference. So, using the example of someone looking for a new job, just endlessly applying on LinkedIn or something like that over and over is probably not the most effective thing. So, getting unstuck looks like finding a different path. And if you don't have the time or energy to do that, then the first thing to address really is your time and your energy. So before we get to today's homework, I want to share a few soul alignment basics that will set the stage for this work and will help you find the time and energy to do it. And the first thing to understand really is that your energy is more important than your time. And I talked about this quite a bit at the top of the video, but it's really important to start shifting the way you're thinking about your commitments and activities because it's not just about how much time they take, it's about how much energy they take. It's so easy to fall into the trap of letting the calendar decide our yeses and nos, but you don't have to say yes to something that will drain your entire day just because the calendar says you're free. You can't create your best life by dragging yourself through the motions. You need to bring your best energy to get your best results. Next, let's talk a little bit about effectiveness before efficiency. There's a quote from Peter Drucker that I find very relevant for this century. He says, "There is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all." And I'm going to be honest, I've done a lot of things, and a lot of them were not really worth doing. I was doing what I thought needed to be done at the time. I was definitely trying to meet other people's expectations, but I wasted a lot of time and energy letting others drive my actions. Part of this soul alignment work includes identifying what you can just not do. So I want to plant that seed now. And last, and this is a big one, practice radical honesty with yourself. When it comes to where you're stuck and what you need to change, you may find that your ego and your assumptions get loud and your resistance gets strong. This can show up as confusion or doubt or even exhaustion. You may just start to feel extra exhausted when you do this work. And some of that is just biology. The human brain generally resists change. You may also feel some fear about changing something too big or changing too much too fast. Just know it's coming and take really good care of yourself. And all I'm asking at this point is just practice being honest with yourself. Name your fears, name your desires as much as you can at this point. Notice when your ego is running the show and just practice telling yourself the truth. For now, this is just for you. So I say homework here because I love some back to school vibes, but obviously you are not obligated to do any of these. But let me give you a few exercises to play with. Maybe journal about where you're stuck. So, what do you know you want and what still feels unclear? What do you know to do and what don't you know yet? What's taking up all your time? And really importantly, what's draining your energy? Practice being honest with yourself, noticing patterns, and identifying your biggest sticking points. Permission slips. I got this one from Brene Brown's Living Brave course years ago when I took it. She had us write ourselves permission slips, and I remember it being so powerful. So, like when you were in school, you would get a permission slip from a grown up to do something out of the ordinary. And now you're the grown up and you get to write your own permission slip to do something out of the ordinary. So I want you to take a post it note and write your name has permission to whatever it is. And this can be to do something or to skip something. So for me, it might look like Becca has permission to skip conversations that make her feel icky. Or Becca has permission to prioritize her mental health. Becca has permission to take a risk, to try something new. Play with it and see what feels good to you. And then last, choose your focus for the remainder of this week. I suggest choosing one or two things to focus on as you start to think about your soul alignment. But honestly, you know yourself and you know how much time and energy you want to put towards this right now. So do what feels right. It might just be helpful to have specific parts of your life to focus on. All of this is basically buffet. Take what looks good, leave what doesn't. You don't have to do any of this. But at the same time, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, and I will be back with you tomorrow. Sending you so much love as you begin this work.